Have a great
Morning,
meeting.
everyone. Thank you, Cindy. This is the Air Conservation Commission meeting. It is Thursday, August 11th, 2022. And due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, the OML, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom. The meeting ID number is 840-4058-0886, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact the Conservation Commission at concom@ayer.ma.us or by calling 978-772-8220, extension 143 prior to the meeting. We have in attendance this evening commissioners. We have Jen Amaya. We have George Bacon. We have Jess Gugino as member clerk. We have Mark Phillips as vice chair, myself, John Schmallenberger as chair, and we have Heather Hampson as our conservation agent. Welcome to all of you and everyone else who is joining us this evening. Do we have confirmation of agenda? Any changes to the agenda? Okie dokie. Then hearing none, motion to accept the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second.
All righty, we'll do a vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Okay, next item is the approval of the meeting minutes for July 28th, 2022. Anyone have any comments, corrections? Nicely written as always, Jess, thank you.
Heather really wants to start doing minutes, I heard.
Oh, does she? Well, good. Run her the bus. All right, then, if I hear no comments, then is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 28th, 2022 as written?
So moved.
Second.
We will do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Public input. At this point in time, if there is anyone listening, viewing that has questions or comments for us about pretty much anything, now's the time. Not ready? Well, hearing none, then we will move on. George, you look very mysterious with your black room, and I like it. Our first item this evening is a public meeting request for determination of applicability at number 71 and 72 Nashua Street. Jen Amaya.
Yep.
How are you this evening, Jen?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking, Chairman.
You're good.
are you recusing yourself now?
Oh, heck no, I'm voting. No, yeah, I will recuse myself.
Would you please give us a little background or some information about your proposed project?
Sure, and I'm here with Ryan, my fabulous neighbor, because we share a driveway. But basically, we want to dig up and replace the existing driveway. And in our case, at 71, we want to extend it a little bit into our lawn, widen it in the shared part, and then widen our actual parking pad location. And then Ryan, if you want to speak to what you all are adding.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you all have been out here a couple of times to look at various
things around the house. We have the S curve coming in towards the house. We're looking to cut the corner on already existed ground just to widen a little bit at the sharpest point of the curve, maybe about an extra foot at the most. And then to pave the existing areas that we've already disturbed for turnarounds, which are currently just packed road fill. I actually have a photo that I can share for reference. Let me throw that up on the screen here. So Jen kindly shaded the areas here that would be affected that are not currently paved, essentially replace the existing driveway and then replace these areas here with pavement and cut this corner here.
And Jen, your driveway currently is what material?
And let me share the picture because I think you have that picture Ryan just shared is in the packet, but the one for ours is not. So let me share that really quickly. And it's really just widening it. So when we had the people out to do the estimates, they were shocked with how narrow the driveway is. And we're like, yeah, we know, we're aware. Bear with me as I talk and do this at the same time. So they did recommend that we widen. You can see that coming off of the circle, it's about like between 1 to 2 feet, depending, because the driveway isn't the same width the entire way. And then as you can see next to where we actually park, we wanted to widen it just to the edge of the garage pop out there into the lawn. So, and then anything you see that's paved, that corner, the whole driveway, will be digging that up and replacing it. When the builders put it in, they only did 1 layer of asphalt, and it's recommended that it's at least 2. So it's already cracking and crumbling at the edges. And if you want, I can email you all this picture too, since it didn't make it to the packet, but up to you.
It did make it to my packet.
Yeah, I made it in my packet too.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I pulled the one off of that's on the town website because my internet was being difficult and it had the same one, but that's probably just me. But I'll stop sharing then since you have it.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing. I didn't get it. It's not in the packet that I got.
Well, the sharing helped because your different color made me see what was supposed to be, what in the black and white was hard to tell.
That
Yep.
makes sense.
Now
Okay.
I have clarity.
Now you understand it all. You're ready to go.
Rock.
So that part that comes off that cul-de-sac, that's your driveway, correct?
So yeah, right off there, that's kind of the shared driveway, but it is all driveway. It's not the street, unfortunately, because then we talked to the town about it and maybe
Yep.
they will, but alas.
And how structural will that new addition, what do you say, it's 2 feet?
Like 1 to 2 for ours where we're widening it, words. It's going to be the same thing. So they'll dig down a little bit, put in however the couple inches of the gravel, and then the 2 layers of asphalt on top of that.
Oh, okay, so that's coming out, all that's coming out.
The grasses, yeah. So it's dead grass right now because we're not watering it, I promise. And it'll be asphalt after.
Okay, all right.
So all the way from the cul-de-sac all the way back to Clinton's house, is the whole driveway getting ripped up?
But we're gonna redo the entire thing, yeah. Because it's
Okay.
already crumbling.
Okay.
Yeah, and looking to redo it without any seams or anything like that, just one fell swoop.
Yeah, that was kind of my question, was how they were gonna join, but they're not. Okay.
So I do have a question. And this might require just a little bit of looking back on some stuff on there, but the turnaround areas that are currently gravel right now, didn't we keeping those gravel like from the original, putting in the retaining wall and all that stuff? So I guess paving it, I just question if we were agreeable to allowing that to happen, because I thought that was a condition that we had kind of stuck on with the original. CLC or whatever, the RDA.
If I recall, we had the option to either pave or do gravel, and we ended up doing the gravel just because we got no quoted by the paving companies because it was such a small surface area that they weren't interested in coming out.
I know we talked about that, Mark, and I'm pretty sure we left it as gravel. If you want to pave, but we like gravel's fine.
I think one of the things we're coming up against is when you have a builder do such a really bad job of laying stuff out.
Yep.
This is a little bit of the correction.
So is this like a borderline notice of intent, given the extent of what's going on, or is it just like a replacement of what is there and a smidge more? I don't know.
Heather?
for sure.
It's to repave is considered maintenance. So
Okay.
the grinding and repaving of the existing would be considered maintenance. It would just be the extension of the part they want to do. That would be considered that you'd actually be looking at. And considering you already have a disturbed area with the gravel parking and just changing it to pavement, that wouldn't really do anything either because it's already a disturbed area.
Yep.
So it would just be those two strips of widening the driveway that would actually be considered a change. Everything else is considered maintenance or it's already disturbed area,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions or thoughts, George?
No, it seems pretty straightforward.
Jess?
I'll go with George.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, no, that's fine, as long as that was our intent, going in with the turnaround areas, that's good. Just obviously, want to wattle or socket or whatever, 'cause you're right on top of the wetland, so we want to make sure that we don't get any stuff into the wetland.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's a condition we should put in the RDA. Both Waddles and Heather, having Heather inspect it.
Yep, prior.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, questions from commissioners or anyone viewing? Okey-dokey. Hearing none, is there a motion to issue a negative determination on the RDA at 71 and 72 Nashua Street? Jen and David Amaya and Ryan, I'm sorry, you're Ryan, your last name?
Clinton.
Clinton, thank you. With the conditions that there are erosion control, straw wattles placed before construction and okayed by our agent, Heather Hampson.
So moved.
Okay.
Alrighty, that was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We will do a roll call vote. George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I,
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. I was going to ask you first, Jan, how do you vote? And I thought, nope.
I was hoping.
It was open. So
I
you
think-
all know the drill. You've been through this before. Is a 10-day waiting period. Heather, you will issue these either tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday.
I will do them tomorrow. I'm out of the office on Monday.
Heather, no major push on that because we still have to schedule and finish quotes and all that stuff. So don't push
Okay.
it till tomorrow.
Yeah, this is not imminent at all.
Oh,
So
okay.
no worries.
All right. So if I don't get to it tomorrow, then I won't stress about it and make sure it's done Tuesday.
Next week is plenty of time. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
And then there's a 10-day waiting period, as you know, in case the state wants to appeal. Anything else on this subject before we move on? Okay,
Thank you all very much.
thank you too, Ryan. Good to see you again. Come back in, Jen.
All right,
Commissioner-
now I'm
Commissioner
voting.
Maya.
Thank you all for hearing us. I appreciate it.
Of course. But of course. Next item this evening is the public meeting, an RDA 0 Bly Street, which is Kitty Junction Playground, Peroni Park, Town of Air Department of Public Works. We will open this public meeting under the Wetland Protection Act and under the Air Wetlands Bylaw, which I forgot to say that for the last one, but here we go. All right. Jeff, is this something you'd like to speak about? I believe you're muted.
I have to preface with the fact this is my first NOI meeting I've ever been to. So I'd actually like to turn it over to Dan to kind of get things started because I'm not that familiar with how these things generally go.
Well, this is submitted as an RDA though, isn't
Oh,
it?
is it? See, there you go right there. So,
You want Dan to lead off anyway?
over to Dan.
Sure.
Hey, Dan, how are you this evening?
Hey, good evening, Chairman. How is everyone doing?
Good, very good. It's nice to see you.
You too. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah. So we're here tonight for the RDA for Peroni Park, Kitty Junction Playground. And this is for the phase 1 portion of the work. So what that involves is the demolition of the existing playground, the arsenic containing wood playground, and also the soil cleanup in the area surrounding the playground. And that basically gets cleaned up based on samples that were taken by our environmental consultant Beta. So they went out there several months back, collected surface soil samples, identified where there is arsenic and where the boundaries of our cleanup have to go. And I don't know if you guys can show one of the plans that we have in the packet. I don't have my screen share ready. But there's a minimal, I guess, encroachment of the work into the buffer zone. And there's also some tree protection in the buffer zone of Grove Pond. So I think everyone's pretty familiar with the area. It's just north of the new perimeter, well, fairly new perimeter path. And essentially, in a nutshell, that is the work. It's kind of the first phase of the project. So what the contractor will do, they'll be the project will be bid, there'll be a contractor obtained. They will excavate, well, they'll demolish the existing playground, remove that from the site. Then they'll perform excavations to certain depths, not very deep, I believe about 6 inches in a lot of locations, down to 1 foot in some. And Beta will be observing, Beta, our environmental consultant, will observe the excavation. We'll collect confirmatory soil samples once they get down to depth to make sure that they're out of the arsenic contaminated zone. And once those confirmatory samples come back, if it comes back hot, then in that general area, usually it's set up as a grid, they would dig a little deeper, collect another confirmatory sample. If its confirmatory sample is within acceptable limits, then that area would be considered complete.
Sorry to interrupt. I can share the packet, and if you want to just direct me to whatever you want to scroll to.
Sure.
So is this?
Yeah, so that's the existing conditions plan. So we can look at this for a minute. So you can see out here, if everyone's familiar, you got the parking lot to the northeast. You have the rain garden kind of just off the parking lot there, and then the playground is in bold there. So that's what's being removed, the existing playground. Everyone's pretty familiar, I think, with it. So as part, if you go down to the next page, it shows. So this is the, I believe, erosion control and tree protection plan. So you can see there's a dashed line. That's the 100-foot buffer. I don't know if you can find it, Jen. Yeah. Oh,
This one here, the dark dash line.
no, it's thin dashed line.
Yeah, it's further down. There's
There it
only
is.
like 4 trees
That
that end
one.
up being in the buffer zone. There you go. It's right down there at the bottom.
Yeah, that's it right there. So you can see there are trees, yeah, to the south of the general work area that are being protected. So they'll have drip line protection and trunk protection. And then within the area of the playground, there's trees being removed and also some being protected. And we could speak more to that if you'd like in a little bit. But if you want to go down to the next page, it'll show kind of the work. Oop, I think we went a little too far. Go up one. Unless I missed it.
I think
Yeah, I think you want to go back to where you just were, Jen.
the tree,
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right, Dan?
No,
Oh, oh, here it is. Go down one.
next
Sorry.
one, okay.
There we go. Yeah, so this is the soil excavation plan. So in the shaded gray area, that's where the excavation work is going to take place. And so they'll primarily be digging with an excavator. I'm getting a background here. But in areas where they're working close to the trees they're saving, they'll be doing a vacuum method of removing the soil in those areas. And so that gets kind of expensive, but it can save those trees, which are in pretty good health there. And I believe there's 4 oaks in that area being saved. So if you look at the shaded gray area relative to the 100-foot buffer, there's about a 200 square foot area that gets encroached by the work. So it's very minimal encroachment to the buffer zone. The dark bold line, dark bold dashed line is erosion controls that are shown. And you can see there's some shown around it. There's actually a tree to the south, yeah, right there to be removed. So around that area, there's erosion control shown. And I think that's not it in a nutshell.
Could I ask, over, not in the area of trees where you have that one X out, but over in the other area, weren't there going to be some pine trees taken out also at the same time?
Just all the trees that are showing X's on them are trees to be removed. So they're all the 4 trees to the left of the screen in the buffer, 1 outside, the 3 inside, those are all going to get taken out.
Okay,
Correct.
got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
any tree with an X is slated for removal.
I wasn't seeing that clearly. I got it.
Yeah. I apologize. I
That's
went
not
through
good.
and color coded a plan and I should have scanned it in for this evening. I'll remember that in the future.
Oh, Heather, you're fine.
And so for backfilling, we're not really it'll be a limited backfill because the next phase of the project is to install a new playground, which will include tree plantings as well. But, we don't really want to backfill it and then have to cut it again to do our second phase of the work. So it'll basically be limited backfill where stumps are removed, make the grade even, make sure you remove any tripping hazards, things like that is kind of the idea at this point. So it's mostly just demo, removing the soil, getting the contaminated soil out. And with that, we have the tree removal we have to do with the minor encroachment. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Jeff, or if Randy has anything, but.
The only thing I would add is that we did send to Heather, and I believe she sent it to the commission, just an outline of the reasoning for tree removal, which was obviously one of the most difficult things to work with in this project. And I believe a lot of that is outlined in there. Also, attending this meeting is Randy Collins from Beta, who has been working in these kinds of projects with soil remediation and this type of thing that needs to be done, and working with trees and trying to save trees in this situation. So he's also on hand to be able to answer any questions that the commission might have about tree removal.
Is everyone okay if I stop sharing?
Yeah.
So I do have a couple of questions on tree removal, and I guess just as you described, Dan, the back excavation is fairly expensive. And looking at the drip, the drip protection area that you'd be doing the back removal. I mean, I like a good tree, but at the end of the day, is it 4 oaks in total and kind of 2 really kind of right in the center. Is it really worth trying to save those and trying to do this correctly and get the soil out and, you know, just be as efficient as possible, I guess. And, you know, knowing that oaks grow pretty quickly, if we just planted some new ones later on, once we have the full layout, as opposed to trying to design around those, might that be a better idea? I'm just curious.
So I'll start with that and maybe Randy can follow up. As I mentioned earlier, the decision to remove any trees from that area was done with a great deal of thought. And we've had a number of public forums, different things. Almost unanimously, every one of these forums, the first thing that people talked about were the trees. So it's something that we wanted to put a lot of extra thought in to try to save any trees we can. That said, your analysis, Mark, is spot on. It's very difficult to save any trees in this situation. And Randy, again, can speak on this further, but has said that, you know, there's a very good chance that those trees will not be able to be saved. The idea that we're going into this with is to at least give it a shot. And we'll have arborists and experts in there who will look at the trees after the work is done and make that determination. Can they be saved or not? So that's where I believe we are, but it's just the extra effort we're trying to put in for those specific trees. If you're in the park itself, I think you would recognize those are the 3 prominent trees in there that provide a lot of the shade and historic value to the area that people would like to save if possible. So some of it's sentimental, some of it's practical, but those are the reasons why we wanted to at least give a shot to save those 3. And Randy, if you could maybe speak on that a little too, maybe you could elaborate a little further.
Sure, Jeff, I can do that. So the 3 that we're saving, which is it's 4, the ones to the right are double oak just outside the fence line, are oak trees. Most of the trees, all of the trees that are within the boundary of the fence or the playground are either oaks or white pines. The oaks, unfortunately, have a sensitivity to any activities around their root system. But as Jeff was indicating, we're trying our best to try to preserve them by going to the extent of the protection and then the vacuum excavation around their roots. The concern that I think should be layered onto this discussion when thinking about the efforts to preserve the trees and what we hope are going to be the best results is that in addition to the activities that are associated with the removal of the soils, is the installation of the playground. And the installation of the playground, be it the safety surface, the walkways, or the playground features themselves, will require additional excavation. So I think Jeff characterized it correctly. We're doing our best to try to save them, but there's really no guarantee that these efforts will show that we actually can. But there's been a certain amount, again, as Jeff has indicated, and Dan had mentioned, there's been some meetings and there is some concern from the public about trying to save the trees. So we're trying to put our best foot forward in doing so.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And, you know, speaking from the Conservation Commission or one of the commissioners, you know, it's, yeah, like I said, I'd love to save trees too. And that is, really our goal here, but at the end of the day, like what is practical, and I guess, you know, the expense of the vac is already taken into account, but the tree might still not survive, you know, so it's sort of after the fact. So we've already spent the money, and this is me speaking from a, you know, just a you know, concerned citizen also, is, you know, that, like I said, it just might not be practical. Maybe the 2 off to the right, all the way to the east side, I suppose, or roughly southeast side would kind of make sense. There's some side, and at the same time, are we excuse me, are we taking out the soil that is anything above the 20, or are we trying to get everything essentially down to 0, Dan, with regards to the arsenic level? Because I see the yellow highlighted, but yet I see the spots that are taken just south-ish or southwest of the main oak tree right in the middle there, and and the 0 to 1 foot and the 1 to 3 foot numbers are, below 10. So I'm just kind of curious about that. If that makes sense, if that's a question at all, if you know it.
Yeah, the goal is to get below the threshold of 20. So, you can still have soils in there that are slightly higher, especially in Massachusetts, in our region, arsenic's naturally occurring in the background. So, our goal, we have to meet the 20.
Right. So as I said, the SS 107, the SS 107, the two SS 107s are below 10. One's at 9.87, the other one's at 6.2.
You're breaking up a little bit there, Mark.
So we're still excavating there because it's already, okay, I'm sorry. Hold on, mute, I'll be right back.
Yep.
One question while Mark's going, but so I know at some point there'd been a talk about doing an NOI that included this work as well as the installation of the new extra playground outside of the Kitty Junction. But that's obviously there's no plan here for that new playground area, right? That's going to be later.
That'll be submitted as a separate NOI after this. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Do we have a timeline? Do we know when that'll be? I'm just wondering how long this site's gonna end up sitting open.
I can speak on that to some degree. So much of the timeline with this is connected from one piece to another. So a lot of what's going to go to the final design of the playground is going to be based on what comes out of this first phase.
Mhm.
The idea is for us to work on it as that is progressing and then kind of put the final parts on it. So ideally, that work can be put out to bid and then the work started immediately following the end of that to happen. So I think Joe McLaughlin, who's the president of Beta, put it best. We have a very aggressive timeline on this, but sometimes it's not necessarily realistic for us to be able to do everything we want to do. So to answer your question, Heather, I don't know if we have a finite or even close to a finite date that we could be able to submit that.
My only concern is all that excavated soil sitting there over the winter, and to make sure we somehow cover it to stabilize it through the winter. That's my only concern, is it sitting there all dug up through a construction season, which is through the winter. So that would be my only comment, that if we, whatever the commission says, that we put that as a condition, that if it's not, that site gets covered through the winter.
How much of the excavated soil would stay given the arsenic?
So the excavated soil will be removed from the site as part of the construction work. So there won't be any excavated soil on site. The best way to say it is, there won't be any excavated soil remaining on site after the contractor's done with the remediation work. Dan had laid out the steps, I think, really well. They're going to remove to the specified depth. They're going to retest those areas that have additional soil that needs to be remediated, will be removed again, and all that soil will be taken off site. So in what I would expect to be the schedule, that work will start sometime in September. It'll probably be completed through September into October, depending on the results of the tests. It could bleed into a little bit of November, but I would say I don't expect that to be the case. Then the site will be the way it is, with the playground removed, the soil excavated, the soil, the erosion control devices in place. In an ideal world, we'd be have a contractor that starts up immediately in November to do the construction of the playground. But I think the best way to look at it is that it's very likely that the conditions of the playground will be left over the winter after the soil has been excavated and the soil removed. and the playground will start first thing during the construction season next year. Erosion control would obviously definitely stay in place.
So maybe we would put in a condition that when we get to that point where you make that decision, the commission or Heather just do a site walk to see what the conditions are for overwintering, because Heather does raise a good point there. Just if anything, like, any construction matting or whatever should be put down in certain areas.
Yep.
Okay.
To get back to Mark's point, if the trees are saved and they do die, how hard are they going to be to get out? Just crane them out from the parking lot? I mean, they're going to be kind of right in smack dab in the middle of this whole thing, aren't they?
Yes. So should the trees die after the construction of the playground, then we would have to be working around the playground features to be able to remove them. That's correct.
With regards to taking out the playground itself, the pressure treated wood and all the whole assembly, in the attempt to try and save those trees, what is the proposal? Is that you're basically pulling any posts straight up out of the ground?
So I think the biggest impact potentially to the trees is actually the excavation of the soil itself. Again, with oaks, they are relatively sensitive to any disturbance around their root system. So that's the reason why we're putting the drip line tree protection to the extent that we are, so that within that zone, there's going to be special care taken to both remove the playground as well as the soil that's within there. If we do encounter roots, the intent, the way the specification is written, they'll vacuum the soil out around the root system and then replace and cover the roots with new soil, so that they'll be protected between the time frame of the excavation and removal of the existing soil and any construction activities associated with the installation of the playground. But there is the the fact that it's still, there's no way to say that they're going to definitely be able to be preserved, unfortunately.
And sorry, I was breaking up earlier. I hardwired in, and hopefully this works better. I mean, you can hear me now. But Dan, I guess with regards to the specification on the standard being below 20 milligrams per kilogram, are we looking to do across the whole site just under 20, or are we trying to take it to 0? I mean, I understand that, they'll be testing as the soil's coming out, but what is our target? What is our threshold we're going for?
So I understand that, yeah, it's to get it, you have to get it below 20 in any of those regions where, I don't know if so kind of stepping back, Joe McLaughlin, he's not here tonight, but he's the LSP for the project, and his license goes under this. He certifies, it's his opinion, it's his way to clean up the site. So his idea was to do it in this fashion, to the way that the grid is set up, or not grid, but the outline, the areas. And the idea is to get it below 20. And so basically you dig down, in certain areas will be 1 foot, some in 6 inches, but it depends on what we have for existing conditions based on the sample results. Then you do the confirmatories and you find out if you have to dig any more. So that's, in a nutshell, you got to get it below the 20. But ultimately it's up to the LSP. And I imagine that's why Joe, even down in the southern part, he's kind of has an area where we have like SS 116, I think. It's 11, but he has it in there as an area getting excavated. It's close to where the playground structure is. So I think it's a kind of a, it's a feel thing, even though the sample says it's good, he wants to make sure we encompass that area close to the playground. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And again, I just don't know what others on the commission feel. To me, it just, I don't know. I think trying to save these 4 trees unfortunately just does not make sense. And I think in the long run, we're gonna lose them.
Are
And
you you're talking about the trees inside the fence?
correct, the ones that are identified that are, with the drip line, near SS 107 over to the right. I mean, we're taking on a 24-inch pine, but we're keeping the oaks right next to it. I just think the added expense and the amount of expense that's going to be expended to try and build around them later on, and they're going to bury the roots, but then they're going to have to re-excavate the roots when they're going to put the new system in, the new playground in. It just seems not feasible. It seems ridiculous, and I think in the long run we're going to lose them.
Well,
Is this in our jurisdiction to even make this decision? I don't,
not really.
right? So
It's not, it's outside the jurisdiction, and my opinion is different than that of Mark's. As someone who's gone to that playground and many others in other areas, a shaded playground is a godsend, and you don't have those. They're all full blown in the sun. Slides get too hot, equipment gets too hot. There's no place to sit in the shade anywhere. And to say cutting down, I don't know, half a dozen or so trees to try to save 4, I say, why the heck not? That's my opinion.
One other thing that I don't think we've spoke on, but just to verify, the intent is to replant trees, not specifically in the exact spots that the originals were, but to create a shaded playground in the end. So that is part of the plan. It
So
would be
maybe if-
ideal to have existing trees to start that could provide shade, immediately. And Mark, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Trust me, we've been going back and forth on this for months with the exact same concerns that you were discussing. It's one of those things where I guess you call it a gamble to some degree, but I don't think it's going to come down to the point that we're going to figure it out, 2 or 3 years down the road that these trees aren't going in. That could happen, but I'd like to think that during the process, we're going to be having, we'll ask our tree warden, we'll ask arborists, Randy's, expert in this field. We'll have people on hand that are going to be able to make that determination. Can we save this patient, so to speak, and then make that determination prior to the next step going in? Yes, we will have wasted some money trying the vacuum technique to try to save them in the first place. But so far, the committee members and the Parks Commission have all been in agreement that we would like to at least take the chance and take the expense to try to save these trees if possible.
I like that. My question on trees would be the one tree with the cracked trunk down, actually to the left of the playground facing the pond. And then the other ones that are also outside of the fencing. What about the stumps in those cases? You're going for stump removal or?
Yeah, that's right. Stumps are being removed.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
I believe that is the case, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one question. It's on the playground remediation update paper. On the bottom of the first page, the last paragraph. And it says that when you vacuum out the soil, the contaminated soil, it will be replaced with new gravel. That isn't correct, is it? It'll be replaced with dirt.
It'll be replaced with new gravel-like material, but not to like every bit of the soil that's there. Basically, if we expose roots, we want to put back a soil matter around the roots.
Okay. All right. Questions, George?
No, I'm good.
Jen?
Nope.
Mark, any more questions?
Nope, it's outside our jurisdiction, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah. it's a tough one, right? It's we're, we're the Conservation Commission, so it's, yeah. How about you,
Go,
Jen?
go trees.
You have any more
Well,
conservation?
Heather and I are there. I don't know about everybody else.
plant more substantial ones to plant them.
Well, maybe if new trees are planted, these will at least hold on until other ones start to get more established before they give up the ghost.
Do you have an idea how big the trees are that you will be planting?
It's always an interesting thing. If you plant trees, well, let me back up. There, as I said earlier, these are mostly oaks and white pines. There is a maple to the northwest corner of by the rain garden. Probably to get the quickest growing plant that's most likely to be able to quickly establish and grow relatively quickly would be things like maples and others. Oaks are really hard trees to get established. I would like to plant some oaks because I think that would be in the spirit of the existing playground and be able to take advantage of the nature of the soil that's there. It's sort of a gravelly soil. That's why the oaks and the white pines are there currently. So I would say if we're planting oaks, I wouldn't go to a size much greater than say 2.5 inches, only because oaks, again, going back to their root system, it's tough to get them to establish. If they were maples, I would go to something into the order of 3, maybe 3.5 inch caliper size. And for purposes of giving you a general height of that, a maple at 3.5 inches in caliper is probably about a 15 to 18 foot tree. Once they establish, they grow relatively quickly. The one thing that we'll definitely be doing as part of the new playground and the tree planting around it, we'll be putting in a soil matter around the trees that will help them to establish as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
And I can speak one step further on that. We've been working with Mark Dixon, our tree warden, over the last number of years, trying to plant more trees around Peroni Park and Sandy Pond Beach. We've probably put in about 20 over the last 5 years. He's able to get some toward the end of the season to, as part of a program, to get these trees. So we've been doing that, and you can kind of get an idea if you go to Peroni Park along the perimeter path in various areas. You'll see some small maples that have been planted recently that are coming along. I think that'd be a pretty good example of what you would see for the next generation of trees planted at the park area.
And Jeff, I have to ask though, I do think I saw some that succumbed to some beavers, if I'm not mistaken.
I couldn't hear you. What?
I think I saw some trees that were planted over by the beach that succumbed to some beavers.
Oh, yes, yes.
So-
Don't mind me. That was a heartbreak.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just wondering, in these plantings, I'm not sure of the activity there. I haven't really noticed it myself around Peroni Park, but will we will we put some sort of protection so we can again make sure that they do establish?
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Obviously, near the waterfront, like those that you saw were like 5 feet from the water. But we'll definitely put extra protection around those, not just for beavers, but also for, there's going to get a lot of use while they're coming along. We had, similar things with the trees that we planted at the beach, which again have, you'd think that the problem wouldn't be beavers, it'd be 6-year-olds trying to climb on them. And so we did put up protections for those the first couple of years, and they've all come in pretty well.
All right. There any comments or questions from anyone viewing this evening? Okay, well, hearing none, then is there a motion to issue a negative determination for the RDA at 0 Bly Street, Kitty Junction Playground at Peroni Park, Town of Ayer Department of Public Works, with the condition that towards the end of the season, this construction season, that Heather, you go out and do a site walk and make sure that everything is buttoned up good for the winter.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. So you all know the drill. It'll be issued tomorrow, Monday, soon. 10-day waiting period. After that, in case the state wants to appeal, and then full speed ahead. I want to thank Randy and Jeff and Dan for being with us this evening and helping us out, understand this better. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and we really do appreciate all the work that you folks do. It's I've been, working with different conservation commissions for a lot of years, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. It's a really good commission you guys have put together right now. So thank you.
No, more than welcome. Yep. Yeah, it's a good bunch of people, that's for sure. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All righty. Our next item this evening is a public meeting that we will open under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the Air Wetlands Bylaw. It is a request for 8 certificate of compliances. Certificate of compliances, is that how you say that?
I think it's certificates.
Certificates.
Science.
Well, okay. It's pretty much always the way that I don't do it.
Oh, if you ever want a word that is, you don't know how to pronounce it, go with the one I don't use. I'm really pretty good at that.
All right, so this is 8 COCs at Pingree Hill. And I see on our screen, Mr. Deshang Wang. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. And
Good.
hey, everybody.
It's been an awfully long time since we've seen you.
I know it's so I was thinking to, right now we all spoiled just on the computer, but it definitely will be really, to go back to in person sometime.
Yeah, I hope that's going to be soon. Good, good, good. So it looks like, what were we waiting on? The additions or the installation of the signs at the properties?
It's all done. I just emailed today. So the signs were installed the day before, and I went to the site, did the inspection, took photos, and incorporated into my final compliance inspection report. I emailed to Heather this afternoon or morning. I just don't remember exactly. Too many things going on. So in short, it's all signage is all up, and with conservation customized signage with like no dumping, no disturbance, and beyond this point is wetland resource that it's very easy to recognize. So that's up, and in general, this phase of the construction, I reviewed the as-built plan. In general, the disturbance was less than the approved. So, and the whole site has been stabilized, permanently stabilized. You need to use permanently stabilized since last fall. I believe we did the final inspection of around November last year, and shows the site is all completed. And we stopped regular monitoring until the recently July 1st, if I remember right. Heather and the engineer and the developer took a site visit for all the 8 lots. And at that time, the only thing missing was the required posts. So, and then we agreed on how many, and I updated that meeting minutes and sent it out So Pyburn so was there. So the day before today, Thursday, Tuesday, installed it, and then when he finished it, I believe he sent an email to everybody. Heather, I think you were on that too. And then so I said, well, I just need to make sure I don't leave a report open, and that people still think we are missing the no disturbance signage. So I went back yesterday and took photo, and then that's basically summarize the site condition. The subdivision turned out really nice. I mean, it's really pleasant place to live, I think, and lots of all the detention basins come out really nice with cattails, and they're fully vegetated kind of condition. So provide turtles in some of the ponds that we observe, and ducklings, in the spring you can see it. So it turned out really nice.
Heather, you were out there with
Yep.
the Shang
Yeah,
and some others.
Yeah, we went out on the 8th. We looked at all 8 of these sites. And yeah, and I said I did get Duchesne his letter with everything, and there was less disturbance in I think almost all of the sites. There was a
Except for
few
one.
items that were missing as far as like boulders that were concerned on a couple, I think 1 or 2 sites, but it would be more disturbance to put them in than to leave them out. So in those instances, there was a couple properties that we stated that I mentioned too, that we'd like to see more of the no disturbance signs put up than what was listed in the original plans. So those were all done. And yeah, it is, even you could tell, like the lawn just stops and then it's just wetland plants and shrubs. And so obviously there's no disturbance there. It's, if you can't figure it out, you're weed whacking half of your yard to get to extend it. So it is, you can see it. It is very nice. And when we were out there too, we actually saw deer in the replication area. Which
Right. Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Yeah.
So
that
it did come out very well. Yeah, and in Duchesne's letter, there is just the only, I think the items left that hasn't been closed out yet is the one of the wetland crossing areas, and that just needs to keep, we need another growing season, I think, on that before we can, the replication, before we can close that one out. But everything else, all the houses, yeah, it's all done. There was, so we found a couple little things that we just tweaked on there as far as adding more signs, and a tree that may have been cut on property that should have been asked for permission for, but we talked to the property owner and they were going to replace it. So
yeah, he assured she was in, well, she is in Florida, but Duke contacted her because when I did my inspection, I found the replacement was not in, but it's basically the current owner. She stated that the tree was dead, that's why she cut it, but we looked at it. So without argument, she agreed to put it in. It may be snapped or somehow, but it looks like very fresh in our view. So therefore we request and she agrees to put it back, and she will. So it's almost like we will follow up and give Heather heads up if she.
yeah, I remember which house where it was, so I can find it.
Yeah, once the lot number is one. Let me see. The lot number is 137B, and the house number is 186, which is also documented in my report. I made a note there. So.
Oh, very good. I didn't even get that far.
Yeah.
So do you have any other concerns, Heather?
Oh no, I thought it was wonderful. I even saw one house outside of all this that had clover planted for their lawn, and I wish more people would do that because clover is drought resistant.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And does
I
not
like
require to be mowed.
I like clover too. It's if you don't put any fertilizer, pesticides on it, it can make a tea of the flowers. It's actually it's a kind of a Chinese medicine.
And the bees like the flowers too. But no, it came out very well. I said there was no issues at all. So there was a couple of things that should have been added on the plans that were left out, but to put them in now. And it was one house was just a giant slope. And to get rocks in there, you just no way you could do it without causing more damage. Other than that, yeah, it's a wonderful little neighborhood up there. So everything looks great.
Yeah,
We imagine what it looked like during construction, but now it looks wonderful.
right. The boulders we after we evaluate is 259, which is a lot 142. You can see it's like a very steep slope. You probably don't want big boulders rolling over in down gradient to cause any damage. But the signage is there. There's definitely there will be no incentive for them to even go any further down. That slope is very steep. So
Do commissioners have any desire to go out and look at these sites? Because I don't.
I can share some of the pictures from Duchesne's letter that he sent this afternoon, if you guys want to see what the lots look like with the signs put up.
Sure, yeah, I see a couple.
Yeah, if you could.
I can do that. I learned to do that last meeting, so I can do that.
Yeah.
Now, here we go.
While you're doing that, Deshang, are they done with all the basins now?
yeah, all the detention basins have been completed.
Are they doing any work up there now anymore?
No, nothing. Technically, they actually wrapped it up last fall, around November. So yeah, so you get, I have all the numbers of the street as well as the lot on the photo. So the signage is just customized, and so you may not be able to see well, but I try to point it using a red arrows to see where the signs are.
Yep.
And yeah, this lot is a 10 Fox Run on the left. You can see it's actually very clear edge, and there's in the bushes actually have a boulders line up there. There's no so that all the natural vegetation took place and actually make very nice. It's very dense fern, hazel fern there was really nice. So you can see this. The next one, you can see the slope. It's the 142. We said we're supposed to put the boulders there, but so it's really very thick undergrowth, brush, shrubs, and the trees are all nice. So with the post, I don't really see they will need anybody would go beyond that. But if there is, as we all know, the order of condition limitation is recorded to their deeds, so it can be enforced. At this point, so far, that's why we feel to add in another row of boulders probably doesn't really help much. So.
Yep.
Yeah, the right one I haven't explained, but you have all the numbers. So like at the bottom is 237, which have the ones on the fence. So the left is 252, which is lot 138. So we the majority actually, if you see the post on the left, is actually finding the detention pond. The only one is the one on the right. On the right with the shed is behind it is a wetland buffer, and the further right you don't see it. It's like a really steep, a big boulders wall. So which is, I mean, one of probably the best wall they added to it to demarcate that limit. On the right is so 219 woodland, so which is lot 75A. So which is like in they are more like in next to the detention basin, 70. I try to remember now, 735 or 745. Is that the one tucked away? And then you can see in the background is it's a good nice row of dense Rose Ragosa, and they're very very healthy. So so if you're looking down on the left, yeah, that's just some more photos for the 75, which is again adjacent to the wetland application area. If you look in all the shrubs, that's basically looking down the wetland application. And to the right is 207 Wayland Woodland, which is a lot 74A. It's also just next, abutting the detention basin. And you can see the detention basin is also lined up with the row of Rose Ragosa. The lawn was just kept. Actually, that's Rose Ragosa. It's probably, I mean, very nice to, it's thorny, but it's actually pretty, you know, it's with the flowers and the fruits. So it's edible fruit.
we
So
have
I
any-
tasted a little bit.
Do we have any actual pictures of any of the boulders that were installed?
Yeah, we put up the one that you will see the boulders was added to 137. That one cut the trees. Yeah, this one you can see the boulders. So 137B, 186, and even with the boulders, if the people they really want to go in, they don't know it, they probably will walk into it. That's just like that tree. They think was dead, so they cut it. Even the boulders was in place. I think with the signage is very clear, so you get boulders cannot speak, but the sign is very clear. Say beyond this point is wetland resources and no dumping, no disturbance. I mean, if people still cannot understand that's and you know you can. It's almost you cannot wake up a person pretend that they're sleeping. You know. That's what I can say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Desheng. I guess the whole idea behind the boulders, though, was for those that would choose to not read the sign and choose to ignore the sign. The idea was that the boulders should be an obstruction to prevent against lawnmowers making it through and slowly, slowly making the lawn larger and things like that. And I guess that's the only thing I'm disappointed with. I'll say that I love the way the pictures look. Everything looks like it came out well, but the fact that the boulders really, they're not as substantial as I anticipated. And they're also, I'm not sure if they're, spaced appropriately, but maybe
That was one
appropriately because
comment
they're
from
smaller.
the woman that lived at 186. That was one of her comments too. She was anticipating them being larger.
Right.
The gentleman at 10 Fox Run, he was looking for boulders and we did find them. They were just further into the already growth area, but they were in place.
Okay.
And the only other one that required them that didn't have them had that steep slope. And in order to place them now would cause more disturbance already. And it is pretty clear cut because it is at the bottom of the slope. So, I mean, to take old boulders out and put new ones in, I mean, what are we going to really do at that point? I think on that one at 186, because of that, it might have been, and I can't remember, Desheng, you might, if we actually even had them put an extra sign up to extend it out a little bit further to just make that.
Yeah,
look
we did.
clearer.
We extended beyond the boulders more
Yeah.
towards.
So when we thought the boulders weren't working, we did put more signs up. I mean, this is something that we have to take a look at. I mean, I can put it on a list of yearly or whatever type of just drive around the neighborhoods and just make sure people aren't doing any encroachments. Google Earth's really good for that as well. You can look at previous years and we can keep an eye on it airly if we need to, just to ensure that those items aren't occurring.
Right. Yeah.
Mark,
For some people,
would you feel better about it if you went out and actually saw it in person versus the pictures? Or do you think you're okay with it?
no, you're welcome to visit the site to look at it. That would be a good idea, actually. So
Yeah.
if
I have all 8 on here. We don't have to do all 8 tonight. If there's any ones you want to hold off on because you want to go look at, that's more than fine. Just figured it was easier to put them all on, check off the ones you do, and
yeah,
continue. with the ones you don't.
I can take out. I can tell you which are the ones that require the boulders. So the only one we didn't put in is the 142A, which is 259 Woodland, and the other one is 71A, which is 169, and so that's also have a steep slope. If we need to put in, it's probably not going to making much of a difference. So. And let's see, that's a 2, if I remember right, that 114, we actually have more boulders than specified, but was already inside of the the no disturb area. He disturbed it less than actually the boulder mark. So it was hiding in the ferns. So, and it's a beautiful ground cover. They happy to keep it, not to disturb it. So after we pointed out to them, the reason is because on one end, close to the detention basin, we built it actually boulders wall, and they kind of branded in, follow the boulders walls, kind of the lawn was lined up rather than go further beyond that. So it's just sometimes it's actually giving us some idea in the future as you get to design the landscape into the way to a way. It's not like say you can't do this, you can't do that. Almost you get to, if we can design some kind of landscape feature to make them feel that's the one, there's no point to go beyond actually making their land looks less pleasant. So that's why so the owner couldn't find that. When we got there, he said, where the boulders? Where the boulders? And he didn't mow into the limit of the boulders. So that's one thing I learned from that actual visit. It probably will be some kind of insight to discussions for the commission to see in the future. I mean, there's many ways to educate people and to stop malfunction or practice. Is one is say, law, you can't do this, you can't do that, like a kids. And the other one is to making signage much easier. People read it and they're conscious, they know they shouldn't do it. And the other one is to follow people's nature to a degree, so to be brand into their enjoyment. I like, the more I'm in my professional life, the more I feel the final one is the best way to do it, but I know it's not always can do it because everybody have a different idea. But it's just one point I like to make, and I know we need to make Earth more beautiful and more sustainable, and that so we need all kind of ideas to how to do it. So it's just a comments, and I learned it from that 10 box run. It's really much less disturbance than it was approved. So.
Right. Mark, how do you feel? Do you want to go out and take a look? See, you okay?
No, I mean, I think if the rest of the commission is comfortable with it, again, I do agree. I think the signs look great. I think the because of the slopes in many instances, it's definitely going to be something that's going to deter people from going beyond and such. So if everybody else is okay with it, then I'm fine.
What do you think, Jess?
I'm okay.
George?
Yeah, I'm okay too.
Jen?
Yep, I'm fine.
Me too. Me too. So can we just bang these out? We got to do them all one at a time, right?
Yeah, you may
So,
need to vote at each one of them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just start going through. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 169 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-413?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 237 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-417?
So moved.
Second,
Was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 186 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-280.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 259 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-418?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 207 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-414?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 219 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-416?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at 252 Woodland Way, DEP file number 100-432?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes unanimously. And is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance at number 10 Fox Run Drive, DEP file number 100-435?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. All right, so when are those going out?
I'll get them done by the beginning of next week.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we are not in rush. Like,
Okay.
every house have a people living in it. I think they probably on summer vacation. They can wait a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Heather. You know, you guys are the best. The commission, very professional, efficient, and
Wow.
really enjoyed walking there. And so I still have one for Willows. I have to come for certificate compliance. All right.
Hey, Desheng, did you see Steve Mullaney much?
I see who.
Mullaney, Mr. Mullaney?
No, I haven't. So I think he's on. He moved.
Oh,
Well,
he
I
did
don't know
move.
whether I should say or not. So he's shifting gears to different fields.
Okay.
Yes,
I was just curious because I haven't seen him in forever.
Right. Yeah, no. He. So Mika is it's mostly taking over the work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us this evening, and have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. You all. Thank you, fine.
I'll take care.
Take care, Desheng.
Thank you.
Take care.
So our next item this evening is a discussion on the conservation restriction at Shaker Pond Road subdivision. Everybody read through it? I mean, it's pretty interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is in terms of moving forward. I don't know, Heather, have you talked to Mark Archambault about it at all, or?
I have not, unfortunately, he hasn't been in the office. He's out the rest of the week, so no, I have not. I was waiting until this meeting tonight to see what the board was gonna, if there was any comments or questions on it, and then I was gonna bring it back to him.
Yeah. I think this spring, we talked about it and there were some things missing, which after we talked, I sent a letter to the attorney that, you know, the conservation values had to be updated to actually match the site. So as far as I can tell, that stuff was done. So, you know, there was some back and forth where I got copied on that the attorney for Mr. Aho had, I don't know if he'd questioned the inclusion of some specific data, but our town council said they should make the changes that our commission suggested. So
Any thoughts, George?
No, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
yeah, and I don't know that we don't have to take any official vote till it's more final, but if anybody had any comments, now would be the time to make them. So
Yeah, I
everybody
read it.
good.
Seemed okay to me.
Mm.
What I understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we just move on then?
Yeah, so I guess that would be at some point check with Mark Archambault about how we move, what the next steps are moving forward on our end.
I will do that and I will review it as well, because I just want to make sure that it matches some of the other ones that we have.
Also, you should see the and I think I sent this around back in May, the I don't know, what is it, the EOEA or whatever, the
Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs.
right, they have a new boilerplate for CRs
Okay.
that
EOEA.
so this one might look different in some ways from older ones because of that, but
Okay.
I think most of this was based on the older one. So
Yeah, I think it was based on the ones for Curly Circle.
yeah, which would probably explain why it had a description of the wetlands that matched Curly Circle.
Yeah, that would do it, because I sent that one to Attorney Socket when I was doing planning board stuff, so he could copy them.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. And I think the same thing happened for Littleton, for Washington Street, for Panther Place too. So they all might look fairly similar.
Yeah.
But the one plus side, I think they all included money to be set aside for monitoring.
Yeah.
So that was a positive on that.
Okay. So
Okay, so
move on then. Next item this evening is a discussion on the waterway sign project update. They're coming along.
We're progressing, and I anticipate we'll be complete by the deadline of 9/30/22. There you go.
Sweet.
So, do we have a sense of, because I think we only got half of the amount of the grant. Have we used that up or?
I have to check with Carrie to see what's left in that fund.
Once we're completely done, then I guess we'd contact Nashua River if we need more within the scope of the grant that we received, but we cut some of the costs by, because I took over doing the sledgehammer for everybody, it made it easier.
Yeah, I think if we just were to check the invoice paid to Lydell, however you pronounce her name, we're probably quite a bit under, Heather.
Okay.
So yeah, my assumption is we will be returning some cash more than likely.
Right, well, this would be an opportunity to think if we did want to put in extra signs anywhere, we would have the money for it.
Potentially.
Yeah.
We have any other locations that are unencumbered?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably say we're good for now.
Yeah, yeah. I still have to get confirmation on the Pine Meadow. One that's on private property. Twice I've tried, John and I have tried to make contact and no one was around. So that still has to happen. So that's where we're at with those.
What happened to the sign up in
Long Pond?
off Hibiscus on Long Pond?
Yeah, I checked the dig safe. I think we'll be fine once we get the DPW permit thing taken care of. Heather, I responded to your email. I'm sorry I only got to it now. I didn't realize it was there.
No, it's fine. I got everything all done. So I got the road opening permit all set.
Okay, Dan's already approved it or whatever.
He sure did. Yeah, I got that from Mona at the DPW. I think it was either earlier this morning or yesterday, but
Okay,
it's all set. And
Okay.
in his email basically say that I just needed to fill that out, and it seemed like just a formality anyway, just to have on file. But I did get the signed off permit. Is it this week? So
okay, great.
And then Cindy's going to be working on posting the QR code content. She had a suggestion that we add in a link to the Nashua River, even though we don't have a sign for the Nashua River, because most of the other signs are talking about water bodies that eventually drain into the Nashua River. So I can do up a short description of the Nashua River and just put in an explanation. We didn't put any signs up because they were either on state land or Oxbow Wildlife Refuge land, and access was problematic.
Yeah, I think I think what you put together was super in total, honestly. I think if you were to maybe based on what she was saying, oh, I'm trying to find it. Where the heck did I put it? Oh, yeah, it's a Word document. Hold on. So like right at the beginning of one of them, or maybe it's all of them, because I'm looking at Shaker Mill Pond. You had the little description as to how it gets to Nashua River.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, is that just the piece that she was talking about? The first paragraph, maybe?
Oh, she's here, but I think if somebody was looking at Cindy, this is what I think you were intending. If somebody was going to the website and then clicking on Long Pond and then clicking on Pine Meadow Pond, and then everything sort of points to the Nashua River, might be nice, even though we don't have a sign, just to have an additional link on the Nashua River.
Well, actually, the reason why I suggested incorporating the Nashua River in there, because although the QR code points to that page stands as waterways. And it can certainly be accessed by people who haven't seen the signs and want to know more about the waterways in town. So,
Okay.
yeah, I was just going to suggest that we include all of them, even if there's not a sign. And I love the Nashua.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like what Jess put together, and I thought,
Yeah, I did
So
too. That was
there's
awesome, Jess.
there's and if you want to know more, was the idea was that was going to be in like an additional link, Jess, or?
No, my thought there was, as you all know, I can be a bit wordy. So the idea is to have bullet points at the top for somebody who just wants to take a quick look. And for those who want more information, that's where you just keep scrolling down: general description, trophic status, impairment, and such.
Okay. So if I'm at Nonacoshes Brook on West Main Street, I click on the QR code. The idea is that it would take me to, page 14, or is that page on Nonacoshes Brook going to stand alone?
No, it takes you to one page, and actually that page is active now if you want to take a peek at it. It's, it'll take you to air.ma.us/waterways, which is a landing page for all of the waterways. Then you would click on the appropriate body of water.
So the QR code,
Takes
all the
water.
QR codes go to one spot, and then from that spot you pick. You,
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd need 6 or 7 different QR codes.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, and that's what I didn't understand. So, okay, thank you. That's, I was trying to figure that out. Okay. So then from the waterways, then do we have other, I guess, helpful links to, like you said, to take you to Nashua River, maybe a link to each one of the sponsors for the symbols that we have on the bottom of the signs? Different things like
Yes.
that.
So what we did is we put a link to each of the waterways that have signs. And an additional resources link with some other cool information that Jess sent.
Okay, great.
I
Yeah,
couldn't tell you specifically what it said.
if we were going to the logic of what you were saying, Mark or Cindy, if we were doing, if we have that sequence from Long Pond down to the Nashua River, if we were putting in the Nashua River, I can work up something short on Plow Shop Pond too, because
Oh, right.
people we can't put a sign up there anyways, because it's all private property, but just for the logic of keeping something in there.
Yeah, and the fact that, the page is about waterways, in the town, even though, the sign points to that page, not all of these places have to have a sign. Be nice if they did.
Okay. So I would say after Labor Day, well, 2 things. One, I'm not good at, it'd be great if we could come up with a graphic of a map showing all the waterways, and then have it go to each particular link page. So Long Pond, Sandy Pond, but for that particular page have, say, Sandy Pond outlined, so it sticks out.
And that hyperlinked, sure.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Then you just have the map
Or
there.
just visually, yeah. Is that something, Heather, you would be able to help with?
I can try to figure that out. So you just
Maybe-
want like a general
maybe
map of the
Delaney?
town of Ayer and then have that Pacific Waterway like highlighted on it.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
see-
I can figure that out.
It's like a mall map, like you are here.
Yeah.
And then after Labor Day, I'd say, when people are back from summer, we could start using the social media to maybe solicit photos of each of the waterways, wildlife or scenic photos or whatever from residents. That was George's suggestion. I mean,
Mhm.
it'd be good to have photos up, but I think actually if we got them from residents, from the community, that would be even better.
Yeah, is that an easy way to let people upload stuff to that, or is that kind of a no-no?
I think we'd have to vet them.
know.
We'd have to pick.
Everybody was trustworthy, we could do
Yeah.
that.
So no.
And Heather, if you are gonna make the graphic,
Mhm.
just be cognizant of color blindness. And so maybe use hash marks or something to that effect versus actual color.
Yeah, I gotta
Yes,
figure out
good idea.
how I'm gonna do this. I might request Cindy's help on some of this.
Or you can
Yeah,
just,
I'm thinking maybe Delaney could help you with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The new engine. Yeah. I'll see what I can figure out. Using GIS. I might be able to.
who's
to
Delaney?
Play around it. She's the new town engineer over the DPW.
Oh, what's her full name?
Delaney York.
York, okay.
She's been an intern over there for several years.
Oh, okay, because there's another Delaney on another project. I was
She was
like,
there last night. I know, I got confused.
no, it was
I
there.
only know 2 Delaney's now.
And yeah, even just using really thick black bold around something would handle Mark's issue, but also really like this
Yeah.
water body.
Yeah, I'm sure there's guidelines to that.
Yeah.
To make it easily accessible to people.
And then
with-
to pull it all together, kind of do an arrow thing that follows what Jess put together, that it starts here and kind of flows into this one, that flows into that one.
I almost want to make a movie of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do like a flip book. The
Yeah.
movie.
The flip book. We gotta
And-
get back to make a movie.
And I sent an email to Faith Salter about seeing if we could get an electronic copy of Keziah's non-point source pollution brochure. So as a sort of what you can do to help our waterways, create an additional link. I just haven't heard back from Faith yet, so that would be down the road. I had another question or point, but, oh, we had on several of them, we had different numbers for the acreage of the pond. And, you know, going from the open space recreation plan to the paddlers thing that you, I think, cited, Jen. And then what I wound up doing was going with what Geosyntec did, since we paid over $90,000 for that report. So I thought, let's go with them.
Yeah, if that's not already part of that, it would be good to have a link to the open space document too.
It's in there.
There, I think it is.
Yeah. And George, there's not an online version of the booklet that Barry did on Ayer, is there?
No.
Yeah, so that's just a straight citation. Yeah. And then, Mark, were you okay with what I put at the end of each of the signs? This sign project was funded by a community grant from the Nashua, Squanicook, and Nissitissit River Wild and Scenic Stewardship Council? Okay.
Oh, nicely done, Jess. Really.
All right, so at some point then, Cindy, I'll get you 2 more links for Nashua River and Plow Shop Pond.
Great.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, Conservation Office updates. What do you got?
So, there was one, first off, because I made some little notes here. I went out to 52 Nashua Street. There are 4 trees that are in the corner of their property in the wetlands that are dead or dying that they would like to have removed. I met with Zach Flag out there and the property owner yesterday. And they're gonna take them out with a crane parked on the driveway. So the only disturbance to the wetland would be essentially just taking out those 4 trees. They are kind of tucked in a little bit. One is, 2 of them are definitely dying or dead. The other one, Zach said is compromised and could fall on the house or into the road depending on which one you're looking at. So I just wanted to know, because we did this for the over on Groton Harvard Road with the commission, that you allowed it just to be an administrative approval. So I just want to know how we're going to handle this one. Like I said, they will leave the stumps. The crane they are gonna be taken out by crane, and the crane will be parked on the driveway. And they will put pads down for the outriggers supports to hold the crane up.
Anybody have an issue with that?
No, so you found the administrative approval form?
I sure did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I know I'm going through before when people call and ask they want to take down trees, I tell them they have to call an arborist and I got to meet them out on site just so I know that the trees have been looked at and they are in fact either dead, dying, or dangerous to something. So that's the process I've been taking. So I've met Zach Flag 3 separate times so far in 2 months. So I'm sure I will see him again.
Heather, the only question I have on that is if you can find out if the people are willing to maybe leave a little bit more than a stump just to create some.
I did
habitat.
ask that and they have no problem with it. I don't know how much they're gonna be able to leave, and I mentioned that to Zach as well, because we did have that comment over on Trevor Trail. And he has no problem doing that if he can, so I will make sure I make that comment to them when I call them tomorrow to let them know what the commission decided to try to leave much stuff as possible. There's 2, I think they are the wetland in front of the house, because it's a house to the back of the property. It's got a long driveway, so that the areas in the front, they are like tucked in there. They're not right on the edge. So I couldn't tell if there was any animals or creatures that were living in it, because you can't see, you can only see the top, maybe 10 to 15 feet of the tree. You can't see the bottom 10 to 15 feet. It's because it's tucked in there pretty well, but I will make that comment to them. And I did say that to Zach when I was out there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, if it's super ugly, and right next to their driveway, then that's okay, but.
Yeah, you really
if
can't
it's-
even see the
Yeah.
bottom half. So if they can leave it, I'll let them know. And that it'll probably make it easier for them to cut down too, right? Because they don't have to go into there very far. So I don't think it'll be that big of a deal to ask that and have them do that.
Great. thanks.
So yesterday, the MACC had a conservation restriction training. It was just an overall training. So I attended that yesterday afternoon. That was last night. They are going to be doing a baseline training in November. So I registered for that, figuring that would be good. So the more training we can get on conservation restrictions, the easier this process will be going forward, getting all these ones coming up. And as part of that training, I realized we are not in as bad shape as we think. We are not alone in our having of CRs and not have ever monitored them or even know 100% where they all are. We are not alone in that process, which made me feel kind of good on that. I've been trying to keep up with Air Solar too as well. Yeah, I may be calling either John or Jess on that one later. I have not heard yet from Rohit. I went through the plans and asked him for a couple items. I asked him for a checklist of details of all the items that have changed on the plans, figuring that's easy. I've gone out several times. I look at the plans. I can tell you 6 things that have already changed. He said he couldn't get that to me. I also asked for a revised set of plans and asked Mark if the planning board had asked for the same thing, figuring if we can get multiple departments going after them for these plans, it would make it easier. He said they were working on it. I got no response on that one either. And I asked to sit
No
down with him.
response from Rohit?
Yeah, he just basically said that would take too long. And I asked for him to sit down with me to go through the plans, because I said I went through each set of plans, wrote down the items on there that are either missing or not constructed yet, so we could go through them and get an idea of what the game plan is. He did say, and I did mention to the contractor, that we're getting close to the end of the growing season, and to get a hold of Oxbow to start figuring out when we do those occupation areas. And they both agreed with that, but I have not heard anything as far as that goes. And while I was upstairs helping train the person that took over my old position, the electrician called looking for the permit, because they're going to try to get the final inspection out there. And so it just worries me they're going to turn the power on that before any of the other stuff has been constructed yet. So I meant to talk to Charlie about that this afternoon, and I haven't, so I'll get a hold of him tomorrow. I reached out to DEP on this, because every time I ask a question or ask them for something, I get a lot of pushback. They told me to write an enforcement or write a violation letter, because if they change the plans without coming before the commission, it is a violation. I'm trying not to do that. I did write another email to Rohit stating that if he doesn't get me this checklist or just something from him in writing, stating the items that have changed, that it could cause a violation, could cause an enforcement order to get set and a cease and desist be put on the property. And I sent that to him Tuesday, and I haven't heard from him yet.
Did you give him a deadline on that, Heather?
I told him as soon as possible, because the Conservation Commission has to vote to possibly amend an order of conditions. And if you don't, and I don't know if I have to explain this to him, but if you have amended order of conditions that gets presented to you with revised plans, you can vote no, and they have to build it to the plans. And it's frustrating. And I'm sure Joanne was going through this too. He doesn't live here. He's probably out in Michigan right now. And I'm stuck dealing with emails and phone calls that I don't have a person that I can sit down and talk to on a regular basis, person to person. So it's frustrating. I don't know if this is how they were this entire time with all this pushback back and forth. But I tried finding other ways to go about it. I found a fire hydrant that's on the plans that hasn't been put in yet, or a force main. So we got a hold of the fire department, and I guess that was for the A&R lots that may or may not be going in now. So they're okay with it not being put in at this moment. So I'm trying to figure out another angle to get somebody else tied into this to try to get more departments involved, and it's running into dead ends here and there. So I'm just getting frustrated. So I don't know if we should be taking the violation letter advice from DEP or not. I'm like, I'll try with him one more time. And if I told him, I told myself I didn't hear from him by the time we met tonight, that I would bring it to you all and see what you said, because in my opinion, I email him, I don't hear from him for 2 days. He's ignoring me.
Can Charlie delay issuing his permit?
He wants to, he doesn't, it's in the site plan, I think, approval that he will not issue a certificate of occupancy until the planning board signs off on it. Unfortunately, they can turn the power on without a certificate of occupancy. I'm hoping we can delay them into a point, but I don't know how long we can as far as turning the power on. That doesn't have anything to do with the certificate of occupancy or certificate of use. They can turn the power on. That's a matter of getting the okay from the electrical inspector. So I got to mention it. And I was just lucky enough to be upstairs when they called for that inspection. So I told Sam that's up there to make a note. We gotta talk to Charlie, and I got to do that first thing in the morning to make sure that because that's an electrical inspector's usually into, is on Fridays, to try to delay that as long as we can and try to get this cleaned up. And I don't even, it's not even to be cleaned up. They're doing a great job. It's just, there's so many items that aren't done to plan or changed on the plan that I just want to know what's going on, essentially. I just want to know what the game plan is.
As part of the order of conditions, weren't we requiring that there is somebody that the conservation agent is able to talk to, and that is on site, and we're supposed to be able to have contact with that person, just like over at Pingray Hill, isn't it Luke Pyburn? Like,
Yeah, so
he's
we
the
have
person we contact. So who's that at Sorwood too?
So that would be Rohit, which is who I've been contacting. I have met, and I went out on site later in the day on Wednesday, and the contractor and his people were not there. I did see the Bobcat was sitting with Phil in the bucket that obviously had been sitting overnight. So I don't think they were at all working on Wednesday. I didn't get a hold of Rihanna to see if she had met with Dave or not, and I probably should have, but
so if we
yeah,
do a violation order,
there's on the plan itself, it shows 5 or 6 tree box filters. There's 3 in place. I haven't verified with the plan that they're built to plan. I don't think they are. Charlie mentioned something that they should be a galvanized box and their concrete block. The roadways is encroached further in the wetlands. Yeah, there's just
so
I can just physically see so many things that I mean, I can go through and make a list looking at the plan, just being out on site. I don't know why it's taken him, why he pushed back on making a list himself.
Heather, so is the violation order, does that precede an enforcement order? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Maya from DEP said she'd offer to help me with that.
I
Okay,
would do that
so-
and get him to come to our next meeting, right?
Yeah, that was the plan, is to set a violation letter and have
Exactly.
them come to the
Yep.
next meeting and explain themselves. So I can do that. And I just first time doing this with you guys new, so I just making sure I'm following everything and getting done.
I think you're actually doing a really, really good job being on top of this. I mean,
Yeah.
I, in my temporary role, am not a plan reader, et cetera. So, plus they weren't doing as much over the winter, but see if we get Rohit or somebody on our Zoom meeting, and then we unleash Mark on him.
I know it's all John.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I will get a hold of Maya over at DEP and have her help me write some sort of violation letter to send to them and invite them to the next meeting on the 25th.
And I would probably, what do you think about saying something like, if there's not a response that indicates compliance with that, or our next meeting, then we'd have to start maybe issuing the enforcement order and fines.
With
Yeah.
like dates too and deadlines. If we don't hear back from you by X date.
Yep. Yeah, I will do that, and I'll make sure that if it's written in there that, by that Monday, which whatever that date is, the 21st, 22nd, to verify to be at the meeting, then there may be consequences of a cease and desist order being placed on the property with Yeah, okay.
And I won't be at that next meeting, but if this comes to a head and it's still an issue, my vote is to find them. If they're still giving you a hard time, then just know that's how I lean. Because
Okay.
you've given them a lot of leeway, Heather. I think you've been really kind.
I'm just trying to work with them so they get an
Yeah.
idea. I don't want to come in and like throw the hammer down and just shut job sites down. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but at this point, I'm like, okay, it's been 2 months. I feel like you're just not listening.
Yeah.
It's
So
fast.
Heather, another question I have though too is, so when you have sent stuff to them via, was it phone calls or emails? Have you gotten responses from them in the past?
It usually takes 2 days before I get a response. So that's why I was like, oh, I sent it Tuesday afternoon. I'd probably get something today. I did not. If I ask them for materials to it's like a checklist of items to do on site, they get done. So if, I think before I went on vacation, I asked them for a group of things to do. I wasn't going to go out for 2 weeks. Those items got done the Monday before I went back out that Wednesday. So they do the items I asked, they just don't do them right away. So if I ask them to do something on a Wednesday, it gets done the following Monday.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be sure that it was, they're not gonna come back with the, well, she was sending it to the wrong email.
Yep,
here's
no,
the wrong phone numbers, I don't want to start that whole thing,
yeah,
so
no.
I just wanted to be sure, so.
Yeah, no, and I no, that I appreciate this. So yeah, no, I have, I contemplating sending things to the engineering firm, but they're not involved in it, and I don't. Calvin Moore is technically the property owner, so he would get copied on these things as well. I don't want to bother him because I know he's not feeling all that well. So I'm trying to not get him involved in it as well.
Yeah, I think Rohit is the big one. I know in the winter or early spring when we were, there were all the lists that were coming out of the environmental monitor that things needed to be complied with. And I remember one time I wrote Rohit and he responded right away. And then towards the end, before you took over, Heather, I'd written him one and he never responded. So I think they are sort of disconnecting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's just frustrating. So
it is.
So I just wanted to give you an update on that. So I will work with my other DEP and we'll get that violation letter out and I'll invite them to the next meeting. And I'll definitely have a deadline to them to verify that they'll be there. Definitely that Monday before with the consequences of a cease and desist being issued with fines.
Thanks.
Tell them you're just barely holding us back.
Well, I mean, I put that in all the emails, like, the commission he needs to vote to do the amended order. And then when he pushed back, I said, well, I can do an enforcement order or a violation letter or even worse, a cease and desist. And that was Tuesday afternoon and I haven't heard back from them. So we'll see if something comes in tomorrow.
If you get any really good responses, forward it on to us.
Okay.
We can see.
And with
I mean,
regard
the
to
one
seeing
they
what
sent
they're
me
doing
from
there,
asking him for those 4 or 5 items, and I try to make it like in the email, like I understand plans take a long time to develop. So if you could just get me a list of items that have changed, that should be fairly easy. Oh, I also asked him for a letter because he said he had talked to National Heritage and they were fine with the changes in the plan. So I asked for a written confirmation of that. He bypassed it in the first email. So in the second email, I wrote it in again saying, since you've already spoken with them, this should be easy. And I haven't, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's been 100% clear with them either, but we'll see. I can't know for sure until I get that letter from them for certain that they've okayed the changes.
Okay, anything else?
So just
Yeah.
staying on solar 2 for a second. So Heather, the pictures that you sent. Oh, 1 second, sorry. There's a thing. Do we happen to have before pictures of the stream crossing to see the base of it as Ken was talking about last time?
To see, but before they put all the rocks and stuff in,
Before it even started construction.
I'd have to go through the old files to see if I could find those.
Okay, yeah, if you wouldn't mind that, because I think that is sort of one of the sticky points and
Yeah, they have, that is one item that they have done everything I've asked them to do as far as that crossing goes. And I did go through the plans, and it does need to be loamed and seeded after the fact, and I did tell them that, but I did mention that it's probably best to keep it rock now until the site's stable.
Okay, because I see those big rocks in there and it just like, I can't
Yeah,
believe that much what
I
was there.
peeked at it yesterday, Tuesday when I was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday when I was out, given the rain that we had Tuesday, there's definitely dirt on the stone that's there, so it didn't make it through the basin. But it does need to get cleaned up and finished until the site is seeded and growing. I don't see the point in putting any kind of trying to do anything in there, because it's just going to wash more dirt out there. But again, it's one of the other items that we got to go through, because again, the stormwater, I've looked at the giant basin for over a month now, and it just keeps getting graded more, but it's still just dirt. So I have stormwater basins that are just dirt, and I have the tree box filters that have, one looks like they just threw rocks in, one just looks like they just dumped some, none of it's completed. And I made that comment to Ricky, we met him out there, that it would be nice if I had one project done instead of 7 that are partly started, and he didn't understand it either. So I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, if it comes to if it comes to an enforcement order, I mean, it's going to have to be extremely detailed on what is requested to be done and in a timeline of that. So I've been thinking of that as well.
Okay.
You're doing a
Anything
good
else?
job on monitoring it.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a site for 7 years in Littleton that I had to keep after, that Marion DePinda from DEP dealt with for 25 years. So I'm used to that. So I know how to handle those pretty well.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. It's taking up a lot of time.
Members have any updates?
I've been working on signs.
You're doing a good job too.
Me
You did a
too.
great job.
Not touching that sledgehammer.
Get a little one. Well,
Just a quick
To the
question
hammer.
on the MACC stuff. I saw they still have, they got some fundamentals and things, and the times are getting to be a little bit more appropriate. What kind of funds do we have if we wanted to finish our fundamentals and get our?
There should be money available for that too. And then I noticed in an email that came from them, their fall conference this year will be in person, and it is at Devon's this year.
It's at Devon's?
It's at Devon's. It's not in Worcester. It's not at Holy Cross. It's at Devon's. So they're going to be doing a fundamentals extravaganza, is how it was listed in their email. So that's usually in October. So I will double check with the accounting office to verify what we have for funding for those. But I believe majority of those classes for the fundamentals are like $90, $95, something like that. I don't even know. Some classes I take are 90 and some I take are 40. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I
Have
see
Have we renewed
August
our,
15th.
Yeah.
Or October 15th, sorry.
Yeah,
have we renewed our membership?
we sure did.
Okay. And
But
that,
I've already, as I took that one training yesterday, I have a wetlands delineation all-day training on a Monday in September. And then I signed up for the baseline CR training in November.
okay. Yeah, Mark, we've always had money for us to attend the conferences.
Yeah, I just wasn't, with the conference being in Devon's, then that might be a better way of approaching it. I just know, like last time, I think I had trying to focus on the fundamentals to get the certificate, it didn't work out. So I was thinking, geez, it might be easier just to pick the ones I want, because like I said, they're doing them from like 6 p.m. to 8:30.
Yeah, so those would be
And
at public
various
training, like
nights,
140. Yeah.
And they're like, what are they saying? So for members, it's like $55 a class.
Yeah.
I think I need like 2 or 3. That
Yeah.
might be cheaper than going to the conference. Who knows? Although there's always conference swag, which is always cool.
Yeah, and then you get the one thing I like about the conferences is you get the workshops that they hold are actually really, some of them are really interesting.
Yeah.
I've attended those over the last 2 years because they were all virtual, so I could do them from home. And then in the past in person, they had some really good ones on vernal pools and stuff.
Yeah. I got some cool t-shirts too with fairy shrimp and stuff, the last one, but they're starting to wear out.
Yeah, so I was super excited if it was going to be in Devon's. I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
I'll have to leave the house at like 7:30 in the morning to get down there in time.
Anything else?
I had a question. Are we using that permitting database that we paid to create?
The one that Mark Wetzel started?
No, the one.
No, I think George is talking about the one that we had custom built for the Conservation Commission. I
Again,
can
I
show
don't
you
know.
that, Heather.
Okay, yeah, you need to show me that because I don't know where that is. If
I'll
you could
find
show
it.
me that, that would be great because I do have a notice of intent that'll be in the next meeting, so that would be great to have. I have been
Okay.
updating a spreadsheet, so as I've been going through files.
Yeah, since we've done that though, the DPW is working on an all-inclusive
Yep.
permitting.
DPW is getting put on there first, I think. though.
Yeah,
They're going
which is
live
good
first.
because then they can iron out all the bugs.
They
And
sure can.
they can figure it all out. But I remind me next week and I'll show you, I'll find it and show you. that.
Okay.
You can putter around with it in your
Okay.
spare time.
Okay.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second,
moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy.